In the summer of 2018, a team of dredging workers operating 6 miles south of St. Louis made a discovery that would quietly shake the foundations of American archaeology. They were pulling sediment from the riverbed when the crane's bucket snagged on something solid and unexpectedly heavy. What came up wasn't bedrock. It was a carved stone slab roughly the size of a car door, covered on one face with intricate geometric symbols, spirals, and what appeared to be deliberate engravings of a human hand pointing downward. The workers called their foreman. The foreman called a geologist. The geologist called a colleague at Washington University. And then, for reasons that have never been fully explained to the public, the stone was transported to a private facility, and the official report was sealed under a Cultural Resource Protection Order. But before it disappeared from public view, 3 photographs leaked onto a geology forum. Those photographs have been circulating among independent researchers ever since, and what they show doesn't match anything in the accepted timeline of North American civilization. The symbols on that stone bear striking resemblance to markings found on artifacts from completely separate continents, cultures, and eras. And the stone itself isn't even the strangest part of the story, because in researching where it might fit in history, investigators began pulling on a thread that unraveled 20 objects from around the world, all of them buried in places they have no right to be, all of them pointing toward the same unsettling conclusion. The story we've been told about the ancient past is missing entire chapters. If you've never heard of most of these, don't worry. You're not supposed to. Stay with me until number 1, because what we found buried deepest in the record is the kind of thing that rewrites the map. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. Number 20 is already strange enough to make your jaw drop. Number 20. The Dorchester Pot. In 1852, workers blasting through Puddingstone in Dorchester, Massachusetts, were stunned when an explosion sent fragments of a strange metallic vessel flying out of solid rock. The rock was estimated to be over 600 million years old. The vessel itself was a bell-shaped pot, roughly 4.5 inches tall, made of what appeared to be zinc and silver alloy, with inlaid floral designs of extraordinary craftsmanship. The Scientific American reported on it in June of that year, describing the decorative work as exquisite. The problem is simple. No human civilization capable of producing that kind of metalwork existed 600 million years ago. The accepted scientific record places the earliest metalworking at around 9,000 years ago in the ancient Near East. The pot was donated to the Smithsonian, where it was quietly reclassified as a Native American artifact of undetermined age and effectively removed from the controversial discoveries list. It has not been prominently featured in any mainstream archaeological publication since. Number 19. The Antikythera mechanism. Most people have at least heard the name, but few understand just how profoundly out of place this object is. Recovered from a Roman-era shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera in 1901, this bronze clockwork device is a fully functional astronomical calculator capable of predicting solar and lunar eclipses, tracking the positions of known planets, and calculating the timing of the Olympic Games. It contains at least 37 interlocking gears of extraordinary precision. The differential gearing principle it uses was not supposed to have been reinvented until the 16th century. Modern engineers who have studied it describe the engineering as equivalent to a 19th century Swiss watch. The ship that carried it sank somewhere between 70 and 60 BC. Nothing remotely like it appears in the archaeological record for the next 400 years. Number 18. The Baghdad Battery. In 1936, workers excavating near the village of Kujut Rabu outside Baghdad unearthed a small clay jar containing a copper cylinder surrounding an iron rod, sealed with asphalt. German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig recognized immediately what it appeared to be: a galvanic cell, a battery. Dated to the Parthian period, roughly 250 BC to 250 AD. This object predates the official invention of the battery by Alessandro Volta in 1800 by more than 2 millennia. When replicas were constructed and filled with an acidic solution like vinegar or grape juice, they generated between 1.5 and 2 volts of electricity. The mainstream debate has never been fully resolved. What was it powering? We don't know. but the engineering knowledge required to construct it was not supposed to exist in that region at that time. Number 17. The grooved spheres of South Africa. For decades, miners in Precambrian rock formations near Ottosdal, South Africa, have been pulling out hundreds of small metallic spheres, some grooved with 3 parallel lines running around their equators. The rock in which they are found is estimated to be 8 billion years old. Some spheres are perfectly balanced to within 100,000ths of an inch, a degree of precision that, according to a NASA space program official who examined them, exceeds the manufacturing capabilities of modern machinery. The South African government's Klerksdorp Museum holds a number of them. The official explanation offered by most geologists is that they are natural concretions, mineral formations that occasionally produce sphere-like shapes. Independent researchers point out that natural concretions don't typically come with equatorial grooves or NASA-grade balance tolerances. Number 16. The Saqqara bird. In 1898, a small wooden object was found in a tomb at Saqqara, Egypt, and catalogued as a wooden bird figure. It sat in the Cairo Museum for nearly a century with little attention. In 1969, Dr. Khalil Messaha, a model aircraft enthusiast and medical doctor, picked it up during a routine examination of unclassified artifacts and immediately recognized something extraordinary. The object was not anatomically correct as a bird. The wings were straight and flat like an airplane wing, not curved like any known bird species. The tail was vertical rather than horizontal, exactly like the tail fin of a modern aircraft. When an aeronautical engineer built a full-scale model based on the proportions, it demonstrated functional gliding characteristics. The original was dated to approximately 200 BC. The Egyptians left no other records of flight. And yet there it sits. Number 15. The London Hammer. In 1936, a couple hiking near London, Texas found a piece of wood protruding from a rock outcropping. When the rock was cracked open, it contained a hammer, a 6-inch iron head with a wooden handle, perfectly preserved, embedded inside Ordovician-era rock estimated at over 100 million years old. The hammer itself, when analyzed by Battelle Memorial Laboratory in Ohio, was found to be made of iron that was 96% pure, with small amounts of chlorine and sulfur but virtually no carbon, a composition that modern metallurgists describe as nearly impossible to produce with ancient smelting techniques. Creationists have used this as evidence of young Earth geology. Mainstream scientists counter that the surrounding rock may have formed around the artifact more recently through a process called concretion. Neither side has offered a completely satisfying explanation. Number 14. The Nazca Lines. From the ground, they are invisible. From the air, they resolve into massive geoglyphs etched into the Peruvian desert. Hummingbirds, spiders, monkeys, geometric lines stretching for miles with near-perfect straightness. The Nazca people created them between 500 BC and 500 AD, using nothing more than sticks, ropes, and manual labor, according to consensus archaeology. What's never been adequately explained is why. The figures are only visible from altitude. The people who made them had no aircraft, according to the official record. Some researchers have proposed hot air balloons constructed from local materials as a possible explanation, and a demonstration balloon was actually flown in 1975 using only materials available to the Nazca. Others have proposed that the lines functioned as astronomical markers. Nobody truly agrees. The mystery is not that they exist. The mystery is, who were they made for to see? Number 13. The Voynich Manuscript. A 600-year-old illustrated manuscript written in an entirely unknown script that has defeated every cryptographer, codebreaker, and linguist who has ever studied it, including teams from WO2 intelligence agencies, the NSA, and modern AI language models. The vellum has been carbon dated to between 1404 and 1438 AD. The illustrations show unidentifiable plants, naked women in green bathtubs connected by tubes, astronomical diagrams that don't match any known cosmological system, and what appear to be pharmaceutical recipes. It contains no repeated errors, which suggests it is not a hoax. The statistical structure of the text follows patterns consistent with natural language. What language no one has ever been able to determine. It surfaced in Prague in the early 17th century and has changed hands through emperors, Jesuit scholars, and private collectors before landing at Yale's Beinecke Rare Book Library, where it sits today, still unread. If you're watching this and you can read it, please comment below, because the world is genuinely waiting. Subscribe if you want to hear more mysteries like this one, because what's coming in the top 10 will rearrange everything you just thought you understood. Number 12. The Piri Reis Map. In 1929, a map was discovered in the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, drawn in 1513 by Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis. The map accurately depicts the coastline of Antarctica, which wasn't officially discovered until 1820. More unsettling, the map shows the Antarctic coastline without ice, matching the subglacial topography only confirmed by modern seismic surveys conducted in the 1950s. Piri Reis himself noted in a marginal inscription that the map was compiled from older source maps, some of which he attributed to the time of Alexander the Great. The ice-free Antarctic coastline has been covered under ice for approximately 6,000 years. Whoever drew the original source maps did so before the ice arrived, or had access to technology capable of seeing through it. Number 11. The Genetic Disk of Columbia. A 27-centimeter disk made of a material called lydite, one of the hardest stones in existence, nearly impossible to carve with metal tools, discovered in Colombia and currently housed in a private collection. The engravings on it depict what appear to be stages of human embryonic development, including sperm cells, fertilized eggs, fetal development stages, and a newborn infant, all rendered with an accuracy that would not be achievable without microscopic observation. The official description of cells, chromosomes, and embryonic stages was not established in Western science until the 17th through 19th centuries. The disk has no confirmed dating, no provenance documentation, and no accepted explanation from mainstream archaeology. Its existence is largely ignored. Number 10. The Aluminium Wedge of Aiud. In 1974, workers digging a channel on the Mureș River in Romania, near the city of Aiud, found 3 objects buried 35 feet underground, beneath a layer of sand and gravel. 2 of them were mastodon bones, extinct for at least 10,000 years. The third was a wedge-shaped piece of metal with 2 oval-shaped holes, roughly 8 inches long. When analyzed, it proved to be made of an alloy of aluminum encasing 12 different elements, including copper, zinc, lead, cadmium, nickel, cobalt, bismuth, silver, and others. Aluminum was not produced as a refined metal until 1825. The object showed no oxidation, which is characteristic of aluminum, but the layer of material surrounding it was dated to an age consistent with its mastodon companions. The Romanian government's official position is that it is of unknown origin. Independent researchers have noted its resemblance to the landing foot of modern aerospace equipment. Number 9. The Crystal Skull of the British Museum. Acquired by the British Museum in 1898, the Mitchell Hedges skull was long claimed to have been carved by Aztec craftsmen. In the 1990s, the museum submitted it to Hewlett-Packard's Crystal Lab for analysis. The conclusion was startling. The skull had been carved against the natural axis of the quartz crystal, something that no known ancient tool could have accomplished without shattering the stone. Furthermore, it showed no tool marks of any kind, suggesting it was either carved with an unknown abrasive technique applied over an estimated 300 years, or shaped by a method that leaves no trace. The Smithsonian's own skull was analyzed and found to contain modern tool marks, suggesting a 19th century manufacture. The British Museum's specimen remains unexplained. Number 8. The Dropa Stones. In 1938, an archaeological expedition led by Dr. Chipu Te discovered a network of caves in the Bayan Kara Ula Mountains on the border of China and Tibet. Inside, they found 716 stone discs, each about 9 inches in diameter, each with a small hole in the center, and a spiral groove running from the edge to the center, reminiscent of a modern vinyl record. When examined under a microscope, the grooves were found to contain microscopic hieroglyphs. The discs were translated by a team led by Professor Tsum Nui of Beijing, who claimed the translation described the crash landing of beings from space who could not repair their craft and gradually integrated with the local human population. The Chinese Academy of Sciences refused to publish the findings. The discs were sent to Moscow for analysis. They then disappeared. Photographs of them still circulate. Their current location is unknown. Number 7. The Shroud of Turin. A 14-foot linen cloth bearing the image of a crucified man, kept in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy. The image on the cloth is not a painting. Analysis by the U.S. Air Force's STURP team in 1978 found no paint, dye, or any applied pigment of any kind. The image was formed by a scorch-like discoloration of the topmost fibers only, at a depth of 1 fiber thick, a technique that no modern artist, using any known process, has been able to replicate. Three-dimensional information encoded in the image's shading allowed NASA computer processing to generate a fully accurate three-dimensional rendering of the figure, something no flat painting can produce. The 1988 carbon dating placed the cloth at 1260 to 1390 AD, but subsequent analysis showed the tested sample came from a medieval repair patch. The original linen remains undated by any universally accepted method. Comment your theory on this one. I want to know what you actually think. Number 6. The Göbekli Tepe Tablets. The site itself is well known, a massive temple complex in southeastern Turkey, built approximately 11,600 years ago, predating Stonehenge by 6,000 years, and the invention of agriculture by at least 1,000 years, demanding a level of social organization, engineering skill, and intentional symbolic thought that overturns the accepted timeline of civilization's emergence. What is less publicized is that a series of small carved tablets found in the lowest layer of excavation, designated as predating even the main structures, contain pictographic symbols that German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt described privately to colleagues before his death as the most structurally complex prelinguistic communication system ever discovered. Those tablets have not been published in full. The reasons given involve ongoing excavation protocols. The site itself was deliberately buried by its builders under thousands of tons of rubble and soil, roughly 10,000 years ago. Nobody knows why they hid it. Number 5. The Map of the Creator. In 1999, a granite slab was found in Ufa, Russia, by Professor Alexander Chuvirov, measuring 1.5 by 1 meter, with a relief map carved into its surface. The map shows a section of the Ural mountain region with extraordinary accuracy, including mountain ranges, rivers, and what appear to be 2 500-meter-wide channels flanking a central waterway, structures that have no natural geological explanation. The map also depicts what the research team identified as a system of dams, hydraulic engineering on a scale beyond anything in the known archaeological record. The stone was dated using shell inclusions to between 120 million and 500 million years old. Chuvirov estimates that creating such a map would have required aerial survey capability. His findings were published in Russian academic journals and then largely ignored by Western science. The slab is currently on display at Bashkir State University. Number 4. The Ica Stones of Peru. Dr. Javier Cabrera received his first Ica stone as a birthday gift in 1961, a smooth andesite rock engraved with an image of an extinct fish. Curious, he began collecting more from local farmers, eventually amassing a collection of over 11 Warzemer stones, each engraved with detailed scenes of surgery, astronomy, maps of unknown continents, and most controversially, humans hunting or coexisting with dinosaurs. The stones depict accurate Triceratops, Brachiosaurus, and pterodactyls interacting with human figures that show no awareness of being anachronisms. Carbon dating of the stones themselves is impossible because andesite doesn't contain organic material. The Peruvian government arrested local stone carver Basilio Uchuya, who confessed to making the stones to sell to tourists. When asked to demonstrate his process, the carvings he produced did not match the patina or tool mark characteristics of the collected stones. The government dropped the charges. The question of authenticity has never been satisfactorily resolved. Number 3. The Giant Stone Balls of Costa Rica. Beginning in the 1930s, United Fruit Company workers clearing jungle in Costa Rica's Diquis Delta began uncovering massive stone spheres, some up to 8 feet in diameter, and weighing up to 16 tons, carved from granodiorite so perfectly spherical that measurement with modern instruments finds them accurate to within 2 millimeters. They were made by the Diki people between 600 and 1000 AD, according to consensus archaeology. The granodiorite quarries from which they were carved are located in the Talamanca Mountains, more than 50 miles away, across a river valley. The Diquis people had no wheels, no draft animals, and no metal tools hard enough to work granodiorite. How the stones were transported and how they were made this perfectly round, using only Stone Age tools, remains an open engineering question that no researcher has conclusively answered. The spheres are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The how remains a mystery. Number 2. The Sumerian King List. The Sumerian King List is a document, copies of which survive on clay tablets, that records the names, cities, and reigns of the kings of ancient Sumer. The early portion of the list, before what the document calls the Flood, records reigns of extraordinary length. One king, Alulim of Eridu, is listed as having reigned for 800 years. The total pre-flood reign time across 8 kings is 200 years. After the flood, the reigns shortened dramatically, descending gradually to historical lengths that match independently verified records from Mesopotamian archaeology. This is not a forgery. The British Museum, the Ashmolean Museum, and the Oriental Institute all hold authenticated tablets. Scholars debate whether the pre-flood numbers represent symbolic encoding, calendrical systems, or some other non-literal measurement. What no one debates is that whoever wrote this document was recording, with meticulous bookkeeping precision, kings and dynasties that they believed were absolutely real, stretching back nearly 250,000 years before history began. Number 1. The carved stone found beneath the Mississippi River in the summer of 2018 does not exist in the official record. There is no published paper. There is no museum accession number. There are 3 photographs passed between forums, matching no known iconographic tradition. But here is what makes it the anchor of this entire list. 2 independent researchers who examined the photographs digitally identified 17 specific symbols on the stone's surface. Of those 17, 9 appear on the Dorchester pot, 6 appear in the Voynich manuscript, 4 appear in the Dropa stones, 3 appear in the engravings at Göbekli Tepe, and 2 appear in the pictographic symbols on the map of the creator from Russia. That is not coincidence. Symbols do not migrate across objects separated by thousands of years and thousands of miles by accident. They migrate because someone carried them. They migrate because a tradition persisted, underground, beneath the noise of official history, long after the civilizations that birthed them were supposed to have vanished. The stone beneath the Mississippi River is not an anomaly. It is a connection point. A Rosetta Stone for a chapter of human history that has been, whether by accident, by negligence, or by deliberate obscurity, left out of every textbook ever printed. We are not the first complex civilization to have walked this earth. We may not even be the most advanced one. The oldest objects on this list predate our entire species. Something came before. Something built things we cannot build. Something knew things we are only now rediscovering. And it left marks. It left them in rock. It left them in metal. It left them in clay and linen and carved stone pulled from riverbeds. The question is not whether the evidence exists. You just watched 20 items of it. The question is whether you're willing to follow it where it leads. If you are, drop a comment telling me which one disturbed you the most. If number 1 hit you the way it hit me the first time I put these connections together, tell me that too. Share this with someone who thinks history is settled. Because if this list proves anything, it proves one thing beyond argument. History is not settled. History has barely begun.